Livy, can you hear me?
I can hear you. Am I on?
Great. Yes, you're on. Great. Good.
Hi, everyone.
Welcome to the Transverse. Welcome to Keep Liv'n. You know how we do here. And yes, we just switched it around like that. And oh my gosh, how have you been, love?
Oh, I've been great.
So to just really give you a heads up, Olivia and I have known each other for probably almost 5 years now. And I've had the wonderful opportunity to kind of be a sibling, if you will, to her in her journey. And one of the things that I have to say is when I first got to Ohio, in short, I had just got to Ohio University. Got to Athens, and let me tell you something, honey. It was a huge culture shock for me. I'm from New York, so I came to this place in God knows where, and I was like, "Oh, where am I at?" And people you were speaking in tongues and calling this place Appalachia. And I wasn't familiar with such a tongue because I was like, that's not something I'm very used to. And so everybody was like, yeah, you're in the Appalachians. And I was like, are y'all speaking a language? Because I don't know what that is. And so I got to Ohio University, and probably within maybe a month or so, not having any community, no network, no nothing in Ohio. I just came because I was trying to get my PhD. I am introduced to Olivia as my first person of color to embrace me as a queer person, to bring me in and love on me and her and so many beloved others who came with a beautiful array of the spectrum of color. I will tell you, they were gorgeous. And loved on me while I was in Athens. Definitely. And my heart has not been the same since. I learned how to be queer in Athens instead of myself. Because I was like, I thought I was going to have to switch it up. And I thought I was going to have to put on my voice, and be like this all day, because I need to make it, and then if I needed to bring out a little bit of the country swing, I want a good beer and I want to go sit and have a good old, I was willing to be that person if I needed to do that. But gratefully for y'all, I could be my cute, fierce, and lovely and fabulous self.
No, it's real, because when I first saw you in Athens, I saw you walking down the street and I was like, oh, they look dope as fuck. They're probably visiting.
It was a long visit. It was a long visit. It was such a long visit because I was like, oh, hell. And then we had a big old potluck for all the queer folk and the queer folk of color and the colorful people all in the house. I was like, come on today. I was like, this is new. But it really felt good. It really, really felt good. I'm so grateful, so grateful for you and just your spirit of hospitality, your spirit of nurture, your spirit of the maternal, and your openness and willingness to tarry. And I think, it was like, I particularly asked Olivia to come on the show because if you have never seen the work that I've done prior, when Olivia has come on the show, I ask for collective reading. And yes, I'm saying reading. And for those of you who if you're thinking house ball and you think I'm talking some Billy Porter, I'm talking about tarot reading. So if
you can go there too.
right? I mean, but then because you are being read one way or another.
Cards go there too.
Right? Like, let's do it. Let's bring out the cards. And so if you love a good reading and you need to be read today, we're going to do a collective reading. And yeah, look, that John Sims week, and you ain't lying. Oh, don't go there. Don't go there. Don't go there. That John Sims week. And I tell you, I don't think I ain't never seen so many white nationalists standing on a hill to fight. We might as well had been creating a brand new civil war. The way they were standing, watching that Confederate flag being hung to the gallons. So that is big. I know some of y'all are like, what the hell are y'all talking about now? Yes, there was this performance piece that was being done by the artist by the name of John Sims, where it is a performance piece where the Confederate flag is officially being hung to death. And I had the opportunity to preach its eulogy and bring everybody into a fighting frenzy. And so, yes, we do like to see, people be delivered on a good day. And so that was a really, really cool experience. So, like Carolyn, you were absolutely right. That was a real thing. This reading today is a collective reading. Now, I hope that you are ready for that collective reading, and I want to honor the fact that you like this takes a process. This is a processing time, and I hope that this speaks to you in several ways, and that you find this reading helpful. And some who deeply believe in tarot, and some some folk use it in other ways. Who maybe come to the moment in a very different in a different way, but I hope that you find this moment to really engage. And I'm going to turn the floor over to you, Olivia, because I see you getting worked up over there. You putting on you giving me a little elegua right now, a little elegua. I'm like,
I got the candle right here.
I'm feeling some elegua. I'm like, yes, elegua. Yes, it's in the place. Ooh, yeah. It's in the house. It's in the house. If y'all are not familiar with the term elegua or elegba, those are two terms that I use. But elegba is the spirit guide for the crossroads, and the great messenger. Often known also as the trickster, and uses his trickster ethic, if you will, to actually guide us into spaces that help us dare to grow and go on. So I'm telling on myself in a nice way.
The reading before the reading.
Look. Let the reading begin, honey. It's going to read. So I'm going to enjoy this. I'm going to enjoy this.
Here.
I'm ready. I'm ready.
All
I'm
right.
ready.
So, hello, everyone. If you aren't familiar with tarot, I guess I'll start there. I have some tarot cards. I have some Lenormand cards. I have some oracle cards. Ultimately, I'm reading energy, tap into a collective energy, and the tool that I use to help me read the energy today are cards. And cards, they come with archetypes, they come with images, colors, they come with numbers, many different ways that we can like tap into energy, because everything is energy. And so I have a reading pulled. I will start with a poem. I'm going to start with the poem, and then the reading will be kind of infused with the poem. And so I guess I will just begin. I'm going to be taking my time because I'm moving into the depths of myself as a channeler. And so I'm going to just say this poem and get out the way and see what happens. This poem is called Me versus Nicotine. It's a poem about attachments, addictions, all the many attachments we can have to various things that we use to hide, mask, or numb certain experiences. And so here's the poem. Me versus nicotine. I'm laying in bed wide awake with the vibrations of the universe squirming through my skin, calling me to action when I only wish to lay here. I'm laying in bed restless with the tremors of nicotine withdrawal knocking on my nerves, asking for escape from responsibility. I'm laying in bed writing this because my energy must go somewhere before I can drift off into the universe. More of me is required in this plane. The day reminded me of my introversion with many conversations and holding space. The day reminded me of why I love solitude with many tone-deaf white women. I'm exhausted, but my body has taken that as a sign to fight. I can't rest well under this dome. I can't remember to put down my phone. I'm distracted by distractions, and so I write poetic narratives in my notes, hoping one day I'll accumulate enough to gather it together in some completed form, edit it, and send it on, sold. When I'm exhausted, the ideas latch onto me. They rush through my body, igniting me with time, creating energy, feeding off of me from my distractions. If I can grant hours to social media, then I must have time for the devotion, the craft. I can hear the ancestors quoting. Even after the high from the weed has crashed, I didn't even drink coffee, but I'm buzzing, unstill. But still, this is better than visuals of sex I can't have. It's dominated my mind all year. Replaying pleasure and promise, potential people put enough pep in my step, fire in my loins, and possibilities are the point. Imagination rules the day. Ruminating over scenarios that might someday play again, imagining being eaten out, flirtatious dialogue I might be too nervous to follow through with, but if I detach a little more, then I'm good for it. It's easier today than yesterday. I've worked on that flow. Timing, divinely orchestrated and choreographed to what's mine. I'll be fine. I'm tripping over how I'm a powerful ass person. When I step back and relax, I see the way it's all working, maneuvering through purpose. It's worth it. The long night drives through the darkness, the shadows lurking, screaming for attention. Don't let me forget to mention the loneliness when tears creep in. And there's no shoulder to reject crying on because vulnerability doesn't always want to live here. It's worth it. To see the baby steps in just 2 years. To live with gratitude in between my ears. A continual conversation with what comes in and what I release. With fear, all things are possible, but not all things need to be an obstacle. Possibility in this world is rooted in a nightmare. My dream world's protected, so my subconscious is friends with ease, release, patience, and degrees of free. I'm preparing myself to excel because my body's hardwired to prepare to fail. It's in the water, the meat, the dairy, and the veggies. The air's laid thick with a little defeat. I'm breathing clean only because tobacco can't have me. We're sharing. Rolling herbal joints in the dorm, smoking them outside just to see the moon's almost reborn. I'm joining. It's about time for something new. The moon is void, of course, and I'm living in space seen as untrue. The space between the notches on the clock, jumping in a time that stops, pauses, exists in all this, where the opposite of truth is flawless. When I no longer cry about how long the journey through all this is because the process reigns over the calling. I'm talking to trees through all of it, collecting knowledge, nature's calling, humble college, university of everyday conversation with the walls, my surroundings speaking out, my subconscious reaching out, the divine connection between what I am and what I'm about, colliding, embodying, and integrating without the clout. This is a solo job, ain't no prizes to give out. Just the highest recognition I can achieve, I can receive, a moment in bed to write while fighting nicotine. All right. And so, thank you, Jay, for having me. And thank you for introducing the reading, because we start off with a shoe. The first card is Crossroads. Path choices, the crossroads. The second card, this is the story, is the anchor. And the next one is the fox. And so this is the story of the reading is based in the idea that choices letting our choices anchor us in the face of like trickery, or being in that trickery space, that trickster space where we have to make some decision that it anchors us in a new reality, in a new space. This past month, I quit nicotine. It's been a minute. It's been maybe 2 or 3 weeks. And when I made that decision, I was immediately, when the decision was like truly made from an anchored space, I truly like stepped into a new reality. And so, yeah, crossroads, paths, and choices we make that anchor us. And also the way that, I don't have the words for the last part that I'm talking about right now. But in some way, there's a way that our decisions are already like trick us. I guess in some way thinking that we have a decision at the end of the day sometimes. The emotional alchemy of the story is the Two of Staffs, which is a card of being a visionary. And so there's a space when we're in this crossroads space, when we're in this space where we have to make a decision that anchors us into some new reality. There's always this liminal space that we're in. Because this can be big decisions. This can be big decisions that anchor us into a new reality. It can also be, this is a decision of like, whatever comes next out of my mouth shifts reality. So it's just a constant creation of reality, a constant shifting of reality. And the Two of Staffs is about the visionary aspect of it. Getting to a higher space, standing on stilts in order to see further. And so we get to that higher space and we can see further, and we can say, when I was trying to make the decision, there was many times I was trying to make the decision, and I just had to sit in that space of, I know in the future, I see the vision of like how this is somewhere that, some decision I should make or somewhere I should be. And getting into that visionary space, getting into that higher ground to be able to see. And then there's a moment when the decision is made and we're kind of knocked back to the ground. And that is our next card, which is the Seven of Staffs. The Seven of Staffs is reversed. But it's reversed because the trickster part of this of many of our decisions is that there's so many options that we think we have. There's so many options. There's so many distractions to making a decision. I think right now, as we are in, like, especially as we're like in Aries season, Aries energy is very much an energy of this explosive decision, and we move forward. It's not about, the daunting, like, staying at the crossroads too long. Understanding that the crossroads is always happening, and so we just make a decision and go. And the Seven of Staves is a card about being grounded and being immovable and maintaining what you've built thus far. And to be there, like, even if, you're in your visionary state and you're like, okay, I have to make this decision. But when you get back down to ground level, you can be honest about, like, I don't think I'm ready to make that decision, and be unmovable in that space. That's a very valid space. It's a very valid space to be aware of exactly where you are and have that decision be your decision, remaining confident in your capabilities, being aware of your capabilities and anchoring yourself in that reality. Because it's not necessarily to move through life. The crossroads isn't a space of like being in better place or worse place or good place or bad place. It's just being exactly where you are. And so, yeah, it's just about being aware of exactly where you are and holding that space for yourself. The next card is the Hermit. And the Hermit is that space of, the Hermit is the energy of consulting, kind of the voice within. It is awareness. It's the space of awareness and contemplation. The Hermit is the space when you do make the decision to be aware of exactly where you are and be in that space and be aware of yourself in that space. A lot of times when I need to make like a big decision on something, if I know I have a bad habit or I know that I have like something that I want to change or become better about, it doesn't really serve me to shame myself into that. It doesn't really serve to like wish to be somewhere you're not. It's more about the awareness, because I notice that when I'm more aware of exactly where I am, when I'm able to say, tobacco can't have me, we're sharing. Then I'm able to be in a space where you just notice the different ways that these things like impact your life, or you notice the ways that these attachments that we have, or these and this doesn't have to be substances. We can have so many attachments that seemingly might look like good things. I know for me, I've had an attachment to inner peace that has been kind of unhealthy, to think that I'm supposed to just constantly be in inner peace. That's like a very a very trickster space to be in, because it seems like, of course, you will like want to be in inner peace all the time, but in this space of like this very trickster space, in the reality of the world, that a type of unhealthy attachment to love and light and positivity and inner peace is a cover. And so the hermit is sort of that space where you're able to, once you see the vision for what you might want to change or where you might want to be, and you stand immovable in where you are, and knowing that that's where you want to be, knowing exactly where you are. The hermit is the space where this self-awareness and the self-discovery can come, where you can start to notice, the ways that you might not be there, and just being aware of that and seeing. Usually the hermit card is this man standing with a light in the dark. And I'm learning that's the place to be. So many spaces we want to be in love and light. We want to be in the light. We want to be sunshine and happiness. And, America is the pillar of freedom, as they have an underbelly of enslavement. And so we can put off this pillar of light, this pillar of we are love, we are light, we are positive, we are freedom, and then meanwhile you're casting a shadow as big as the light of the darkness. And so, yeah, the hermit sits in the dark because that's where the real awareness and knowledge comes. If you're aware of the dark, you don't have to shine a light, it shines for you. And so, and all of this is done. The last card is the I mentioned the US and institutions. Be very wary of institutions, peoples, and communities that want to be very light. Because the Ten of Coins speaks about institutions. And it's really, upright, it's about the institution of like your body, your ancestor, your lineage. In reverse, I see it as more of like the false institutions that we cling to. The top of the deck, the top of all the energy, is the Strength card, which for me is just, of course, it takes a lot of strength to be in the dark and to make decisions and be in this crossroad liminal space where you're looking in the dark, where you're realizing most of your battles are not from some external thing. When I quit nicotine, it was pretty, I had some withdrawals. The chemical withdrawals were there for a few days. And then after that, the real battle wasn't with the nicotine. It was with all the shit that I was trying to hide and numb with the nicotine. And so the battle wasn't really with the substance. The battle's not with my phone. It's like, why can't I exist without how much time?
Look, I'm sitting here listening to you, and I'm like, I'm sitting here getting a full sermon and I'm like, I'm drinking this tea, but this is like good tea. This is like your tea. Like, I'm like, ooh, like, yeah. Because like, no, I mean, I think, I mean, you brought up a lot of good spaces for us to journey with. Being that we need to sit, I will agree. I think many of us need to sit with the decisions that we are making. Politically, we need to sit with the decisions we are making. And we need to be careful how we make those decisions. We need to be very, very careful with how we make those decisions. I recently was engaging in a conversation. I think about this very carefully because I watched the conversation. Now I love, this was a tough one for me at first when I looked at the conversation, of course, everybody has made, my Facebook is not an exclusive Facebook. I converse with everybody. I like to know what's happening, even with folk that don't like me. I like to know what my cousins that are distant from me say about me, or folk that I love. I like to know what Republicans are saying along with the Democrats. I want to know what the monogamists are saying along with the polyamorous. I like to know so that I know where I need to be, because I don't live in a world where I need to be in a bubble. And it was interesting to be in this conversation because when we think about the decision-making process and the fact of the trickery of decision-making with this, there was a statement being made recently about Leah Thomas, who is the transgender woman, trans woman who was swimming and of course won and did an amazing job. And so, of course, all of these horrible Republican right-wing people are speaking from a space of like, oh, well, it's unfair and all of these things. And I was like, now hold on. Are we saying that women can't do incredible things? Are we also trying to say that like trans people don't belong in women's space? And so I really had to be very cognizant on how I spoke about this, because the decision that they were all arriving to was they were trying to point to biologically. And I got into a place where I said, no, we don't need to even engage that. This is a space for all women. And that all women have the ability to perform. And I was like, to be honest, I was like, you don't realize a lot of your strength until you step into your womanhood. Right? That part. And that was a very interesting moment, because I had to be very careful in maintaining all of the politics involving that conversation. And as a non-binary person, wanting to hold space for all my beloved siblings, even down to the women that I also deeply love, and how we show up and how trans women show up for me. And I was like, this is not something that y'all need to even be discussing, because y'all have no intersections there. Right? But if we're not careful, we find ourselves in the tricks of this, of the fact that we haven't done shadow work, the hermit, right? We haven't done shadow work. We don't know how to engage with certain conversations, and we don't want to engage with them because we fear that we will make mistake. And I was okay with making mistakes so that somebody could teach me and be open to being accountable. Shadow work will cause us to be accountable. And being a trickster, you always have to be accountable.
Mm-hmm.
Look at me, every day I have to be accountable for the fact that, oh, I know I made that happen. Like, I think that's a thing. I think there's there are the spaces in which the card that you were bringing up, the gentleman is on the stilts.
Yeah, two of staffs,
right? So the two of staffs, like, and as you were talking about that, like, there is vision. And I want to specify for this community that we need to consider two aspects of visioning here. There is envisioning and there is visioning. Those are two different practices. Envisioning is where we can use the hermit and where we can use the trickster. Because the envisioning is going back into oneself, right? It's an envision. It's a past experience that one has learned from and gained an understanding to then produce a vision, right? So envisioning is very important to understand, because it is first an introspective work that comes from a lived experience. Then there is visioning. Visioning does not attach itself to the past.
Yeah.
It is solely rooted in the interactions of the daily. It is putting forth the potential and the possibility, as you mentioned. It is rooted there. It does not require anything from the past to be produced. Visioning is solidly exponentious, absolutely by itself operational, and doesn't and most people will think of this in a way where they go, oh, how do I engage, or how do I create? And this is why we see a lot of, people mimic what other folk are doing. We replicate, right? Because we envision, we're still stuck in envisioning that we replicate a lot of toxic things that we needed to get free from. We replicated what we thought would inform some of our positions or our roles in society, because we are attached to toxic behaviors and social constructions that we were trying to get free from, only to bring that same toxicity and that tainted behavior into our space, because our envisioning is tainted. But folk who are not interested in maintaining a co-narrative or the prerequisites of their social condition to be where they are, like your poem says, right? Divinity of asking who I am in addition to what I'm about. That portion, that creates that stir.
Because
go ahead.
I think when I think of envisioning, I think it's a very feminine space, and we don't know how to be there. A lot of the times it's a space of reception. So you're literally just receiving whatever your body is receiving and becoming aware of that. The visioning, like you said, is more of like the active role of it. And I think about, I was in a class and we were talking about Octavia Butler, or I was listening to a podcast and she was talking about like Octavia Butler was a visionary because she was present, because she would walk through the streets and just see what was happening, and that gave her vision. Because a lot of the time, because of the way that like time works, like the past is simply in your body as memory. The present is a space of creation, and so if you are present, you are in that creative mode already to vision.
I think this is where a lot of us are. I think it takes a lot of us as people living on the margins to constantly do this introspective work, very similar to the work that I was sharing some weeks ago around how Shun turns in on herself. Produce, Elegua. And so as she turns in on herself, she begins to create a new possibility. But it requires for her to know herself in the moment.
I've been saying this a lot, especially when dealing with a lot of projections from people. I've been like, the mirror is up. The mirror is up. I'm having this conversation. You're having that conversation. And that's how I know how to move forward. I'm talking to me, you talking to you.
Yeah, I mean, it's this is the thing. It's like, I mean, like literally, I saw my friend. I saw a friend of mine that I've been like literally in phone conversation with all the time, and for the first time we had a chance to meet, and the first time we met was this past Thursday, and let me tell you something. Lenny is a brilliant brother. And we have talked multiple times over the phone since New Year's. And this is the first time we're meeting. And solid friendship. But when I tell you it was deeply a reflection of who and what I saw myself, I was like, whoa, whoa. I was like, that energy, that face, like this, like all like the I was like the demeanor, the posture, the poise, like all of it. And I was just like, thank you for being a reflection. Because, you know, and sometimes you can't thank everybody for being a reflection because they're not necessarily funny. They'll be the broken mirror when you look like when you the whole mirror. But it's such a thing. It's such a thing.
And to go to what you're saying and what we were talking about earlier about being in Athens, one thing that I noticed about queerness in the Midwest and Ohio is that you don't see it. So it is a very visionary space. And so what I saw, I worked at the LGBT Center at Ohio University. And at the time I was like going back and forth about what I was going to do. But I wasn't at the time really worried. I noticed that everyone was very worried about the word. They were very worried about, and I understand words can help us find community, but everyone was very concerned with the word and the performance of the word. And I noticed and of course also media was a big part of it because you had to see something. Mm-hmm. And one thing that I loved about like the Black queer community in Athens is that we don't, Black queer people in the Midwest do not see ourselves, period, like at all. And so you either really get caught up in the tide of trying to be something, or you really have to be visionary. Like you really have to be present in your body, and you really have to like be on stilts and see beyond like I never saw myself growing up, ever. Still to this day, I couldn't pick one.
I mean, that's, but right, like, let's be real. That's very, that's very Abatalao, right? Like, and so we are really talking some deep, just for those dear ones who don't know, like, what y'all are saying some language today. Yes, Eshu and Oshun and Obatalao. These are all spirit guides from Africa. You've heard me mention some of their names, but Obatalao is the Orisha, the spirit guide, who holds deep wisdom. He is often portrayed as an old man who sits in the mountains. And so if you've ever been to Appalachia, area, right? Like, here it is, you're in a space that has deep fog, always cloudy. And the only things that are high are the mountains. And so he rules the sky. He rules the sky. He is also known. There's a beautiful proverb of how he is one of the individuals, one of the spirit guides, who actually takes accountability for those human beings and those children, as he calls them, who have various aspects of accessibility, and so for those who are challenged, possibly with disabilities and so on and so forth, Abatalao takes responsibility for those children, because those were the children he created. So it's a very African-based mythologies and spiritualities hold various intersections, but in particularly, when we're out there, I will honestly say you do have to have a vision, and it requires deep wisdom, and right, a fish. We were, fish is out of water. Like, I tell you, I mean, I think it almost felt like we were in a huge tank, and some of us, like we if you got to Athens, it was like there was an opportunity for you to be a real fish, right? It is a fishbowl. Exactly. It is a fishbowl. And we end up figuring out ways to be together. And some of us come with deep deep trauma. Some of us are running away. Some of us are in search of ourselves. Some of us are, and I think many of us in this community can relate when you are queer and trying to find all these things. And technically what you're trying to find is sanctuary, a moment where you can sanction yourself to be yourself, to love yourself, to equip yourself, to absolutely be at some point nourished enough to go back into a world that is not set up to see you. And here it is, this community does that. I know we could spend so much time talking about, I'm gonna have to bring you back. I don't, if you got time in your schedule, because I think we can do this. I actually want to bring Carolyn onto this mofo right now, because we probably need to have a conversation about Appalachia and
yes,
in the power of being mountain folk and being queer in the mountains, and make that happen. I want to take the time to let our viewers know after this broadcast, the Keep Liv'n broadcast, and just a huge thank you to all of you who have joined, and thank you for bearing with us in the technical difficulties today regarding the chat. We are now seeing all of the chat. We are now seeing.
Yeah, I was like, it's quiet in here.
I know it is quiet. I know. I was like, oh, they practicing nonviolent communication. I don't like nonviolent communication. People be looking strange, and they be like, I'm not gonna say anything because I don't want to offend anybody. I get nervous when I see we're
right. I was like, okay, did I disconnect? What happened?
We talk in love. I call them responses. I was like, get me on this screen because I look. I don't care if I'm drinking my tea or not. We this. But this is Pittsburgh is Paris and Appalachia. You better go to your room, honey. But tonight, look, we got Mia Mason, right? Mia Mason is a retired veteran from the Army and Navy. During the 20-year transition and bravery, fought off illegal discrimination in the Air Force. Let me tell you something. Emily got a serious broadcast coming y'all way. Y'all better clutch your pearls, honey. She has ran for Congress in the 2020 election cycle. In the first nationwide LGBTQ veteran to win a federal election primary. She is currently serving as the LGBTQ chair for the Maryland Democrat Party. She better come on and be in my neck of the woods over here. And Mia has spoken for many of us within the military and on the public stage about the illegal discrimination she and countless trans figures have experienced in the workforce, in the workplace. I want to tell you, tune in, watch this magic, watch this incredible conversation. And in the end too, I hope that you see this moment of really this tarot reading as something, to tell you a little bit about yourself, right? And so, don't get too caught up. We need to embrace that. You were gonna say something, Lizzie?
Yeah, I do want to say I am doing personal readings. And so if you would like to contact me, you can contact me at, I'm gonna send Jay or Justice the information, but you can email me at ombfrequency@gmail.com. My Instagram is livblack, LIVVBLACC, or omb.frequency on Instagram. Mm-hmm. I'm going to be putting up my first YouTube video reading tomorrow. And so, it'll be the same thing of doing poetry and readings, collective readings, and maybe just some general things I've learned through theology school. And thanks for having me tonight.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. And as you can see, Carolyn has posted the IG. Please follow Olivia on IG. Get your reading done, honey. Get everything done that you possibly can. We all need it. And so I just love y'all. Y'all have a wonderful night. Emily is up next. Don't miss out on the magic that makes us what we are. This is the Transverse. Welcome to Keep Living Justice. My music. Let's go. We're gonna dance, darling.
You love right now.